Hello, all, and welcome. We are back with our series on coaching for transformation. I'm your host, Dario Minaya, and I am here with COO and Chief Learning Strategist of Minaya Learning Global Solutions, that is also an executive coach and leadership strategist, the ever multi-talented Susan Minaya. Today, we're talking about something most leaders know they should do and still avoid: hard conversations. Stay tuned to learn more. Susan, welcome back.
Hey, Dario. Good to be back as always. A new year, right?
I know, a new year. We're diving
doing
hard.
good. Back to back.
Back to back. So, I want to start with something I hear leaders say all the time. Is this really worth bringing up?
Yes. And when leaders ask that question, what's interesting is this: they already know the answer. That question usually isn't about whether the conversation matters. It's more about the discomfort of the conversation.
So that pause, that hesitation, that's the moment.
Exactly. That's the moment where avoidance feels like relief.
So why do even strong, capable leaders avoid these conversations?
Mostly, Dario, because avoidance feels kind in the moment. Leaders tell themselves things like, I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to make this awkward. I don't want to damage the relationship. Those thoughts sound responsible. They might even sound empathetic,
Yeah, but they don't age well.
No, they really don't. Because while the leader is protecting themselves from discomfort, the issue doesn't pause. It keeps playing out quietly, repeatedly. Usually it's getting worse.
Then what do leaders underestimate most about the cost of avoidance?
How heavy it becomes to carry, right? I hear leaders say, I haven't even said anything yet, and I'm already exhausted. They're replaying that conversation in their head. They're compensating for the behavior. They're managing downstream issues that never really should have landed on their desk. So by the time they finally speak up, they've already paid the price 10 times over, Dario.
So the conversation itself wasn't the heavy part.
No, carrying it was. And so avoidance doesn't prevent work, it actually multiplies it. And this is a really important concept for leaders to understand.
And this doesn't just affect the leader, does it?
Not at all. Teams notice when expectations aren't being addressed by the leader. High performers are typically the ones to notice first because they see that people are allowed to be slacky, right? So when leaders stay silent, people start filling in the gaps with assumptions about fairness, standards, and accountability. And, culture shifts, not because of what leaders say, but because of what they allow. That's that bottom part of the iceberg, right? That you don't see.
Yeah, wow, that's such an important distinction.
Culture is shaped far more by tolerated behavior than stated values. You've probably seen that in organizations that you've worked in.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's reset the story leaders tell themselves then. What's the reframe?
This is the shift that can change everything for them. Hard conversations are not acts of conflict. Leaders have to start thinking of it as acts of clarity. And clarity, when delivered well, really is a form of care. I ask leaders this question all the time. If you were underperforming, wouldn't you want someone to tell you?
Yeah.
And almost everyone says yes, right? I can't imagine, no, I don't want to know. They want the chance to adjust, improve, and succeed. Sometimes people just don't know they aren't doing something well or right. And they need that clarity to help them get them on the right path.
Right. So that silence robs people of that opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So at this point, leaders are probably thinking, okay, but how do I actually do this?
Right. And this is where structure helps after the mindset shift. I use a simple 3-part approach because threes work, right? And keeps conversations grounded and productive. First, before you ever speak to the person, you have to really get clear with yourself. What's actually happening? What's the impact? And what outcome am I really looking to achieve? Clarity here is your anchor.
And this is where knowing someone's disc style can really help, right?
Yes, well, I'm a huge DISC advocate, because of so many reasons, but not to change the message, but really why DISC matters is it helps to shape the entry point to the conversation, right? So some people want the bottom line first. Others need reassurance before you kind of get into that dialogue. Some want data, just the facts, and some want collaboration as you're working through it together. Same clarity, just a different doorway.
Very true. So once the leader is clear, what matters most in delivery?
What matters most is neutrality and impact, Dario. You name what you're seeing, you name why it matters, and you connect it to expectations. No accusations. There's really no emotional loading. You're just stating facts and impact. And when leaders do this well, conversations tend to calm down and they don't really escalate. You don't see that emotional component come into it.
Got it. And at some point, leaders have to figure out what's really going on. Yeah.
Exactly. Every hard conversation eventually leads to this question. Is this a skill issue or is this a will issue with this person? If it's skill, leadership leans into coaching, support, training, and development. If it's will, the leader has to really move into the role of accountability and formal expectation setting. Avoidance delays that clarity and makes both paths harder for the leader ultimately.
So, what do leaders say after they finally have the conversation?
Almost always the same things that I hear, Dario. Wow, it wasn't as bad as I thought. They appreciated the clarity. It felt lighter. It wasn't as heavy as the conversation as I thought it was going to be. And the biggest one is, I should have done this sooner. The relief comes after the courage.
So, for leaders listening, what's the takeaway this week?
From my point of view, if there's a conversation sitting in the back of your mind, pay attention to that. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What is it costing me? And what might change if I led with clarity instead of silence?
Wow, that was a very powerful conversation. Avoidance feels protective, but clarity is what actually builds trust.
Hard conversations aren't about being harsh. They're about being honest, aligned, and responsible. So when leaders choose courage, they actually strengthen relationships and they also strengthen their leadership and the culture of their teams as well.
Well, thank you for joining us for week 2 for Coaching for Transformation. Susan, thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
And if you want to support building confidence and skill around the difficult conversations, you can reach Susan at coaching@minayalearning.com. Until next time.